Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and I'm also a doctoral student of psychology. Today, I wanted to go over, do single women keep other women single? I think there's truth to this. I think it's valid. I'm sure it works the other way with men as well. But today, I wanted to talk about, particularly with women, because I do feel like this correlates to some extent with the divorce rates. I think that women initiating more divorce, some of that is probably because women have higher expectations in general. And I think some men, not all of them, sometimes they don't realize how serious their wife is when she's saying something is bothering her. Because a lot of men, when they're bothered by something, a lot of times they still tolerate it. And so I think it's just a difference of how men and women are and how they grow up. So I'm not necessarily saying that women shouldn't divorce men. It's She shouldn't stay if she doesn't like him and she's going to end up cheating on him or something like that. I think it's better if she leaves. And I understand why men are apprehensive for marriage, but in general, single in terms of relationships, marriage, whatever it may be, I think that this is a factor because I think some women hear things from other women and it really affects her perspective of her own marriage and she thinks there's something wrong with her marriage instead of realizing it's there's not as much. It's nice to be married to someone that loves you and is committed to you. A lot of times that's great, but some women think that's not enough because they're listening to single women who may have different expectations, but that could be why they're single. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. It's kind of a rough idea, but we're going to go into more details. Everything is just speculative. I'm not trying to create too much issues with how people feel. I know this is going to be a topic that will make people upset as usual, but I'm trying to share my thoughts and I hope that it'll be a little helpful to somebody. The first one is I think some women, some single women have high expectations and that's partly why they're single and they place that onto their friends. So they believe that anything below that particular threshold that they believe is a high expectation, they think that, sorry, they don't think what they have is a high expectation. They think it's like the bare minimum. That word is kind of annoying, but I'm just using it because it's common. But if their friend takes something less than that, they think their friend has a problem or she has low self-esteem. And it's almost like shaming their friend to do better. And it makes their friend feel embarrassed, confused, and sometimes controlled. And I'm not saying it's the friend's, like she's a victim in this, but it's a really heavy influence. And I think a lot of women have experienced this. I know I have, where you're in a relationship and, well, I'll give an example, an actual example of myself so you guys can understand what's going on. So I'm in a long-term relationship and our first date, well, he came up to me. I didn't know him before. He initiated, asked for my number, and I gave it to him. And then soon after, he set up a date. And the first date was at a park. And for me, that was perfect. I like things like that. And then after that, I think because we kind of talked a lot, he suggested we go get something to eat. And then that's how it went. But the reason why I bring that up is because a lot of people think that that's not like the first date should be like a restaurant or something. So particularly for me, I don't like restaurants as a first date. To me, it makes me a little uncomfortable because I feel like I can't get to know them. Like I want to know who this person is and how they're like. Also, I was younger, like than I am now, obviously, but I was quite a bit younger, and I just really wanted to understand what was best for me at that time, and I was just learning. I didn't have too many expectations, and I feel like that's a good thing. Like I was just trying to learn and understand, and on that date at the park, it's like a walking trail, and I felt like it was nice because it was just me and him a lot, not in a creepy way, but it was like I could understand how he behaves, how he talks, and I felt really comfortable and safe with him. And to me, that made a really big difference where I wouldn't be able to evaluate those things if we were at a restaurant. And so a lot of women, single women, say like the first date, he should take you to a restaurant. I don't know, maybe for some people. For me, that just wouldn't work. I wouldn't be able to know if I wanted to be with him. And he probably felt similarly. And it's a lot of investment on a first date going to a restaurant if it doesn't work. And so I think that played out for me, but some people don't like that. And I think that creates a barrier because then a lot of women, if they listen to their friends, they would think, oh, this guy's not a good guy. He didn't take me to a restaurant. When in actuality, maybe he's trying to get to know you and he's actually a really good guy. And so I think that's pretty troublesome for a lot of relationships and it stops women from getting in relationships. The next one is many relationship issues are met with leave him or dump him instead of actually giving advice how to manage her marriage or relationship. Relationships and marriage is hard, and being met with leave him and dump him does not build the skills that you need to be in a relationship anyways. Because if you dump him, let's just say, for example, someone says, hey, go ahead and dump him. He's not a good guy. He's whatever. He didn't go to a restaurant on the first date. We'll take that first example we're talking about. And the friend, let's say she listens. Okay, you're right, he's a bad guy. But she didn't learn that skill. So the next time it's just going to happen again. Some other issue is going to come up and her friend's going to say dump him, and then she's going to dump him, and then she's going to stay perpetually single just like her friend is, because you're not building skills in a relationship. If you always dump him or leave him during any time conflict arises, you're just becoming more difficult. Just being honest, as a person, you're becoming more difficult and challenging to be with, because you are just leaving people if you don't get your way, basically. And I understand that there are some valid situations where you want to leave a relationship, but I think leave him, dump him, etc. is becoming very frequent, and it is too frequent. The next one is friends sometimes feel bad or confused about their own dating life, and so they may have a reaction if their friend's in a relationship. They may feel left behind. They may feel like they can't spend as much time with their friends. A lot of women who are in relationships, they're not going to go out every night and do like certain things. That's just not, it doesn't create a good environment for her relationship. And so her friends who are single, they might be upset that they can't do that with their friend. They may feel behind in their life, and they may feel a type of way. That can happen. The next one is some folks who are single don't have long-term experience, or they have bad relationship experiences, and they don't understand the ebbs and flows of what a relationship should look like. Now, this part might be a little controversial, but there's research on it, and the research is, you guys probably know John Gottman. His research is one of my favorite, like in terms of marriage and just in terms of research in general, probably among all his research, all the way from his first one to his more recent ones. They're all absolutely amazing. And a couple things that he has highlighted within these dynamics is that marriage has up and down. Some low times are very low, and this one might be controversial. I don't know if I would be in this situation, but maybe, who knows? Like, we don't know these types of things. But actually what's interesting is even low points where you feel like the relationship is absolutely not going to last, and that moment might last for years, and marriages still survive and they become healthier and stronger. That's the goal. And yeah, that can happen to any of us. And then sometimes even research suggests that even couples can survive affairs if they can solve the source. And so marriage and relationships are a lot of work, and the ebbs and flows of them, we can't really dictate or control exactly that paradigm. And so a friend who's single or who's never run into those issues, because maybe we have a female where her ex-boyfriend and her, they were like really off and on situationship type of thing, and they never actually had like a relationship, so they never even got to the crux of like real marriage and relationship issues, right? They just have like whatever issues comes with, like, I don't know, different forms of communication or commitment or something of that sort, which is like just sometimes the bare minimum of some relationships. Whereas if you're in a long-term relationship, even if there is issues with like who views commitment a certain way, that happens even marriages, but you'll have issues with what you're going to do on Valentine's Day, how you feel about this issue, this ongoing issue. Maybe when you're with your friends, your girlfriend texts you too much and you feel like it's difficult and she's not controlling her emotions, and that's something she wants to work on. Like, those are issues in the marriage. Maybe he doesn't listen to her. Maybe he tries to, but maybe he doesn't understand it's important. Maybe he keeps the bedroom a little bit messy or the kitchen messy, and that upsets her. And so these are issues that add up over time. Maybe she feels like he has a temper, and maybe he does, and he admits that, and he's trying to work on that. Those types of issues, they take a long time to fix. Like, particularly if she's like really anxious and like texts him when she's upset continuously, even when he sets a boundary, or he has like anger and he's like short fuse. These are issues that don't take like a day to fix. They take years to fix, and they can erode marriages, but they're incredibly fixable. But if a friend who doesn't understand those things, they might say, hey, leave that relationship. It's not healthy. It doesn't look healthy now. That is true. I'm not saying stay in unhealthy marriages, but I'm just saying there will be moments in marriages where you want to call it quits, but it's up to you to decide if you want to or not. And some friends might influence you to continuously leave. And like we were talking about earlier, if you continuously leave every single time, those marriages who have like 40 years on their marriage, they had these times like 10, 15 times, probably more than that. And thinking that for people who are married for 40 years don't have issues, I think is kind of silly. And some of these single ladies kind of think that that's what marriage is supposed to be like not many issues. He's just devoted to her and listens to her. Nobody's like that. If he's like that, he's probably miserable inside and he's probably going to leave. I hope he does, because that's not a healthy marriage. You can't just be like obedient to everything she says. And some women really genuinely feel like that's what a relationship and a marriage is supposed to look like, and it's not. That's not a good marriage. A marriage is a partnership. It's not a one-way street. So that's an issue. The next one is some of these single or divorced ladies, they've been hurt by men, and they tell themselves and others, they believe that all men are bad. I don't think they actually believe that. They say it because they don't want to, sometimes they don't want to take responsibility for what really happened, or they don't want to go out there and maybe adjust their expectations a little bit because they want what they want. And so they just label it as all men are bad instead of finding a more compatible partner. And men do that too. Both genders do. But this is an issue because maybe they don't like their friend's boyfriend for some reason. Maybe they think he doesn't make enough money, but the friend, she doesn't care about things like that. Maybe she feels like her friend's boyfriend has, a lot of issues with depression, maybe, but she doesn't want to leave him because she wants to support him. But these single ladies, they see so much, they can nitpick men so easily. It's almost like they have a motive for it. And so they're putting that onto their friend, and their friend is getting this negative view of men, when in actuality, if she was talking to like older women who've had marriages for a long time, that would probably be better advice, instead of these single or divorced ladies who actually do not have a successful track record of relationships. And the last one is particularly odd, and it's actually incredibly sad. These all are, but this one is just like, it's such a waste of time and energy, and it is incredibly silly. I mean, that's lightly to put it. Some women actually think hating and bashing on men is a strategy for connection, and that's just horrible. Hating and bashing on anybody to connect with another person is honestly ridiculous. There are plenty of then you need to build your social skills. There are plenty of ways to connect with other people without hating on a group of people. But some women actually bash and hate on men as a strategy to connect with other women. And this is unfortunate because women who do this, sometimes they actually don't know better because maybe their friends do it, or maybe their mom did it, or something like that. And it's a really unfortunate cycle. And so these are some of the things that I think, and there are plenty more, but these are some of the aspects that I think single women do that keep other women single or struggling with their relationships. I hope this video is helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.